largely are dependent on race night management. That's what we're mostly going to look at. So connecting MRP Live to your scoring system, the setup tab in an event, different lineup options that you can choose, importing results, adding points and pay schemes, calculating your points and pay, and then working in the payments tab is kind of what we're going to focus on tonight. We will again do this same time next week, a Wednesday night at 7:30 Central, where we'll talk about things like ticketing and MRP fantasy and news and things of that nature. But again, tonight is going to be mostly focused on race management. So I will share my screen and we'll kind of jump right in here. When you come to the race management tab, and that's where we are here to start this off, is in race management. The first thing I'll tell you is that the program will automatically default this view to the next available event chronologically. So basically your next coming event, you can use this button here to filter to prior events or future events or whatever else. But what we're basically looking at here is the next available event. For me, we're going to pretend today is May 7, and we're going to run a May 7 race here. So the first tab you've got is the setup tab. Setup, all you're really deciding here is how you want the program to handle the pill draw and how you want the program to handle transponder options. So the pill draw by default is going to be at this at check-in auto draw. There's options for auto draw before you find a driver or after you find a driver. I typically leave it at auto draw when you're finding a driver here, the at check-in one. But there's also options here for manual entry or even no pill draw. So you can handle that differently on a per class basis. Or you can, change the defaults so you only have to set it once per year. The other option that you'll set here is how you want the program to handle transponders. If you have a live timing and scoring system, you're going to use transponders. If you have a stock of transponders that folks are going to rent from you, makes it pretty straightforward. Then you'll allow rentals. And so there's not a lot of confusion there. But again, you can set these things as defaults, so you only have to set it night one for whatever you're going to do. And again, you can have different options on a per class basis if you'd like. From there, we'll jump into the entries screen. Entries is where you're going to start entering drivers into your event. So you can filter by class up here at the top of the screen. I'll enter drivers in the Sport Compact class. You can filter for whatever class you're running up here. But that's all you're doing is putting drivers into the entry list. Now, in season management last week, we talked about registrations and season management. I just want to emphasize again that this entry process and the registration process are two different things. They're separate things in the program. Season management registrations is just gathering driver information for your database for what you're doing. And entries here is the process of actually putting somebody into the entry list for your event. The 3 ways to find a driver. First, there is this My Competitors list on the left-hand side of the screen. All this is going to show you is drivers who've raced with you before in that class or who have registered in that class. So that's all you're seeing in this My Competitors list. You can filter this list by car number. There's a filter box up here. If I start typing in a 23, it'll bring up all the 23s. If I type in 07, works the same way. So you can filter that by car number. But that's all you're seeing on the left there. Just drivers who've raced with you before. Makes it easier for you to find your repeat customers, in a sense. Second way to find a driver is the scan barcode option at the top of the screen. You click scan barcode up here. Any driver who has claimed their profile and logs into the app with that same email address will have a barcode in their app that you can scan if you've got a 3D scanner. And it'll basically bypass the search process and house all of their driver information. We also have these MRP Hard Cards, say MyRacePass on the front. They've got a barcode on the back. It's the same barcode as in the app. You can scan it, and it'll do the same thing. Does the same thing that the in-app barcode does. That's all you really need to worry about there. If you've got questions or comments in the chat, I'm going to have a colleague, Dakota, here monitoring the chat. So any questions or concerns that you've got, he'll address. And so, we appreciate Dakota for that. But you can either click on them on the My Competitors list, scan their barcode, or click the search button at the top of the screen. Click search. It's an active search. Type in their name, and it brings up a list of search results based off of what you typed. So if they don't have a barcode, or they don't have an MRP card, or they've never raced with it before, you'll be able to use the search to find them. This is also where you can create a new profile if the driver doesn't have a MyRacePass profile already. But I will say that every driver who's ever raced at any track that uses MyRacePass will already have a profile. Like, those profiles will exist already. So the process of creating will be fairly rare. You won't have to do that all that often because, again, if they've ever raced at any track that uses MyRacePass, they'll exist in here. But whether you click on their name on the left, scan the barcode, or search for them, this is the screen that comes up in all of those situations. There's a lot here, but you really only need 4 pieces of information to put the driver into the entry list. First thing is the pill draw number. Now, I had it set to auto draw, so it drew a 45. You'll notice that box is grayed out. I can't edit that box at all. 45 is the pill draw number that driver has for the night. If you had it set to manual entry, this is where you would type that in. Second option here that you would need is the car number, just what it sounds like. It's the number on the door of the car. Dakota, what's going on, man?
When you get done entering them, can you just show the how to change the has forms entered box?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So car number exists here. The program will not allow duplicate car numbers per class. So I enter as 23. Somebody else comes up later on, says, hey, I'm also number 23. That person will have to put an X or an L or whatever else behind the number. Can't allow duplicate car numbers per class. You can also mark that as the default. The other option for car number that I'll say, even though I think it should be illegal, the program will allow for special characters. So if somebody comes up and says, hey, my number is 1 star, you can put an asterisk in there. It'll accept it. I don't love that as an announcer with poor eyesight, but it is what it is. The third option in here is owner information. Owner information will only come up in 2 circumstances. The first being the pretty rare circumstance of if you're calculating owner points. Not a lot of people do that anymore, but if you are calculating owner points, you want to make sure that every driver that you check in has an owner option available, because it's the only way the program will know to apply the points to the owner. The second reason to have an owner listed here, and a far more common reason, is obviously if somebody other than the driver is getting paid for the night. So if that's going to be the case, we'll use the search button to the right of the owner field here to find the owner data. Every owner that driver has ever had, regardless of network, will show up in this screen. So anywhere they've raced at any point in MyRacePass that they've ever had a car owner, it'll show here. If what you're looking for is not showing here, you can head over to all owners, and that'll search for the entire database of owners. So if in some magic world I have a race for Casey Kane, I can type in Casey Kane Racing. That shows up as an owner option now. So I can click on that. If you do need to create a new owner profile, you can add team over here. You put in the team name, and it's important that this team name, this is how it'll be printed on the check if you're printing checks out of MyRacePass. So you want to make sure that the team name isn't just like some arbitrary name that they came to you with, but it's actually what's going to show up on the check in terms of how they're getting paid. So if it's an LLC or a business name or a person's name or whatever it is, you want to make sure that that's accurate and that they can cash the check under that name. But I'll jump over to previous owners. I'll put in my owner data here. Again, you can make this default so it shows up every time you check that driver in, and you can check this box for payout goes to owner if that's applicable for you. So that's the first 3 things: pill draw, car number, owner information. The fourth thing is transponder number. Transponder number, basically, it's very simple. You click in the box, you type in the transponder number. If you click in the box, it'll bring up a list of their most recent transponder numbers that they've had. So, you can choose one from the list. If it's their own transponder number, you should mark it as the default. That way it shows up every time. You don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about typing it in every week. But if they're renting from you, you want to make sure you click this transponder rented box. There's a report that you can run at the end of the night to show you everyone who's rented a transponder from you. I still recommend to take some kind of collateral from them, like a driver's license or something, so they have some incentive to bring it back to you. But at least this way you can run a report to show you, who you need to chase down, if that makes sense. And those are really the 4 pieces of information. Again, pill draw number here, car number here, owner information. You click the search bar to find the owner information. and transponder number. You got those 4 things. That's all you need to put a driver into an entry list. So don't feel like you have to be overwhelmed by everything here. I will show you the rest of this stuff, starting with lineup override. Lineup override's simple. If you have a driver who, for whatever reason, needs to start in the back, you can start them in the back for just the heats or for all races. So a rookie driver or someone shaking down a new car, or I know some folks have rules packages where if you win a certain number of races in the row, you have to start in the back, stuff like that. But that's what lineup override is for. You'll also see payment amount and payment method. This is a very new feature that only is available for folks in the partner plan. And I think in terms of profiles using this, we only have like 2 or 3 right now, but it is available for those in the partner plan. It's a way to track entry payments, whatever you want that entry payment to be. If you're tracking pit passes, or if you're tracking like an actual entry fee into the event, or whatever you want to track, you can track that here. Again, I think pretty much Lucas Oil Late Model Alert Series and USMTS are the only ones using it right now. Active competitor, there's really no reason to make anybody inactive. Just leave the box checked. The only time I ever see that used is if you're building an entry list days before the event and you don't want that stuff to show publicly until race day. Then you come in here and make them all active again. But that's a long, tedious process too. So it's better to just enter them on race night. The other option here is contingency information. This is not a race night contingency like a hard charger award or something. It's a season-long contingency. So again, I'll use Lucas Oil Lit Model Alert Series as an example. They have at the end of the year like their Sunoco race fuel point standing or their crew chief point standing or things like that. That's the contingency that we're talking about. A season-long points contingency, which again is pretty rarely used. Confirmed memberships is over here. That will show you if they've registered with you or not. So when you come over here to confirm memberships, you can see what registrations they filled out, and you can easily see in one glance if they filled out a track registration or series registration with your organization yet. And that also is part of the has all forms option. So in season management registration, there's a way to add downloads to your registration. So everything that you need to gather outside of MyRacePass, like a W-9 or a minor release form or whatever paper forms you need them to fill out, they can fill out and bring to you. And has all forms is just basically a yes/no toggle to where if you'd like, you can track if they've turned that stuff into you or not. And you do that in the registrations tab of season management. If you check the box, this turns into a check mark on race night. That's really all it's used for. So from there, we'll add. And again, that sounds like a lot, but remember, the most important things are those first 4 things. The pill draw number, the car number, the owner information, and the transponder information. If you've got that, you've got all you really need to enter them into a race night. Now, we strongly advise to use things like registration to track your driver information, but it's not by any means required. And you can, definitely use this stuff, at your discretion for what's most beneficial for your track. This is a good example. It's not letting me enter this driver because the number is already taken. Can't have duplicate numbers. I throw an X in there. We're good to go. I also want to make mention of the fact that Dakota and I on the support team spent 0 hours of our lives changing all of these fake driver profiles. So all of like the cat pictures and stuff definitely was not us. With that, I mentioned that duplicate car numbers are not allowable in the program. The same is true for duplicate transponder numbers. You won't be in the same class. You won't be able to have 2 drivers with the same transponder number. That'll throw the same type of error. So you won't have to worry about that either. All of this information can transfer directly to your live timing and scoring system. Once we get lineups created, I'll show you that as well. So whether you're in Orbits or you're in Westhold, it'll all go straight over there for you. So I've got 10 cars here. We'll pretend that we had 10 Sport Compacts show up tonight, and that's going to be our field for the evening. Next, I'll jump to the Races tab. Races is where you're starting to build your format for the night. So we've got in here, we got 2 different ways to add races. First, you can import from previous race nights. So you see that I've got a previous races option in there. If I know that my format's going to be similar, or the same, I can just import from a previous night. So today I got 5-7. If I 322, I had 2 heats and a feature. I just click on that. All the same data shows up here. You can also add it from scratch, and really it's not hard to add from scratch. You do have to do it for each individual class, and typically I'll do this like before I leave for the races on race day, just because, you know, I know what kind of things that I'm going to expect. But I'll add this here. For our format, I'm just going to run 2 heats in a feature, keep it simple. Keep in mind that you can run qualifying in here. You can run, you know, basically every type of format that exists for the most part. We either have built or will build at some point if it's commonly used. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff in here. You know, any format that if you have questions about how you can apply this specifically for your format, reach out to us. You know, we're here. We want to try to help. But I'll run 2 heats in a feature. And then I'll just run a passing point show so you can see what that looks like. So the other things in this view that you can do, you can change the name of your races. So if like the World of Outlaws are there and you don't want to run a B feature, you want to run a Last Chance Showdown, you can change the name from B feature to Last Chance Showdown. Or if you want to run time trials instead of qualifying, or if you've got qualifiers instead of heat races like ASCS used to have, things of that nature. You can change those race names, and you can also add a sponsor here as well. So again, you know, Lincoln Electric Time Trials, H&H Mobile Home Heat Race #1, things of that nature. Change the sponsors in there. That way those sponsors are getting app impressions, and you have a way to collect more revenue or sell marketing partners a little bit more easily with, you know, got 250,000 people, or actually it's more than that. It's almost 500,000 people in our app on each individual race night this time of year, Fridays and Saturdays. You want to sell those app impressions to a marketing partner? This is a great way to do it. You're also setting your transfers here. So on a typical race night, you could transfer them per race. Like if I'm sending 5 per heat race to the feature, I can do the top 5 to the feature, the next however many, or the next all to the B main, stuff like that. For a passing point show, you want to make sure that you select this from group as opposed to per race, because now I'm not sending 5 per race to the A main. I'm taking the entire group of all heat races, and I'm sending the top however many I want to the A main. So that's how that would work. And then if you really want to, you can start them 3 wide. But I'll save this. That'll be my format for the night. I've got 2 heat races in a feature. I'm going to transfer from group, so I'll use passing points. Jump to lineups next. The lineups is just what it sounds like. Now I'm setting my heat race lineups. For my heat race, I'm just going to enter them all based off of passing, or excuse me, my pill draw. So I'm lining up my heat races based off the pill draw. There are, between our features and heat races, we've got over 100 lineup options. So whatever you guys are trying to do, we can most likely facilitate it. We've got 2 heat race formats, carding formats, pill draw formats, you know, points inverts on 1 night, 2 night, or 3 nights, all sorts of stuff in here. So if you've got questions about how to apply this to your racetrack, definitely get a hold of us. I'll line them up based off the pill draw, and I'll hit calculate. But now I've got my heat races in order here. Good to go there. Everything's all set. From here, I'm going to step aside of the race night, and I'm going to show you the process of pushing this information into your live timing and scoring system. So I'm going to start with orbits. I'm going to open up orbits, and I'm going to jump to the MRP Live tab. You see it right here? It says MRP Live. The MRP Live is the thing that sits in between MyRacePass and orbits and allows the two to communicate with each other. So all of your entries and lineups data, you can send right to orbits or Westhold. You don't have to duplicate the entry process in 2 platforms, and then all of the results data come back the other way. And MRP Live is also what allows live timing and scoring to work in the app. So you can download MRP Live right here. It says download application there, and I would recommend that you install that on the same machine that that Orbits or Westhold is running on. This is what shows up when you install. It's this little program here. There are 3 pieces of information that you need. The first is the IP address and the port number. That comes out of the distribution tab in Orbits. There's the IP, and there's the port. The port is pretty much always going to be 50,000. That pretty much never changes. The IP address, if you're using the same computer all year long, that doesn't change either. So those 2 pieces of information, IP and port, pretty straightforward. The only thing you'll have to worry about changing on a nightly basis is this MRP Live connection code. Every event in our program will generate its own specific and unique connection code. So I'll go ahead and connect. And because I've got lineups created, I can press Get Lineups right here. And now that I've got lineups, I can come back into Orbits. I'll jump to my registration tab here, and I can import the groups and import the runs. So when I import the groups, that's all of the class data that I've got. So on next and finish. So I've got all of my drivers, all of their car numbers, all of their transponder numbers. And if I had more than one class as a part of this, then you can, obviously all of the classes will come over at once. But you should only have to import the groups once a night, just one time to get all the class data in there. Now I can import the runs because I've got lineups created. Every time you create new lineups, you've got new runs. So after your heat race, you calculate all of your heat race lineups, import all the heat races at once. When your heat races are done, you calculate all the feature lineups and send your features over. So really, you only have to worry about that 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 times if you qualify and have B mains. But it's really not a huge part of your evening. And there you can see it imported heat race number 1 and heat race number 2. So they're ready to be timed. That's all it takes. You don't have to re-enter any of this information in Orbits. It all shows up right there. The process is very similar for Westhold. So let me open up Race Manager, and we can do that as well. Yes. All right. So Westhold comes up, and again, same process. IP address is under network broadcast control. Port number is under our monitor. The port number is always 50,000. That has not changed. Again, you just have to make sure that you've got your IP address. Select Race Manager here and connect. And let me get rid of the last demo race I did in here now. Maybe Orbits wasn't done closing yet. You also can't have Orbits and Race Manager open at the same time. That's also going to cause you an issue. That'll show up as a problem for very few of you, I imagine, but it is technically a thing. There we go. Now, as I press Get Lineups here, I can come over into Race Manager. There's actually no import process in Race Manager. It just shows up in the Assign tab for you. It comes over automatically. You don't have to do anything beyond that. So I've got my competitors list. I've got my Heat 1. I've got my Heat 2. It's all right there. I use the competitors list for hot laps. All pretty straightforward stuff there. Because demo mode in Westhold only allows for 10 cars at a time, we're going to actually show you how to manually put the results in for these heat races as though you didn't have a live timing and scoring system, or if it went down or whatever else. Always good to be prepared. It's really simple. You can either type the number into this text box in the order that they finished, or you can click on their names over here. Either way does the same job. You mark your DNF, your DNS, your DQ, or your black flag. Or if it's a passing point show and you've got somebody who elects to start at the back, or for whatever reason you don't want to give them passing points, but you want to give them finishing points, you can mark NPP right here. Otherwise, we'll save as completed. Heat 2 on the racetrack. We'll say we finish that way. Save as completed. For every race that you run, there's a share button down here on the results tab, so you can share your results to social media in one click. There's also a media format button, which just gives it to you in a string of text. So the only thing I use this for is to copy the A main finish into a news release or a race recap news article that I'm writing. So that way the whole finishing order can be in there. But it is available for you if needed. So now that my heat races are done, I can calculate my feature lineup. So I'll calculate lineups here. And I said I was going to do passing points. So I'll do heat passing points, and it ties to the low pill. Now for passing points, there are so many ways to do passing points. There are some of them that we have built in here for global schemes. Things like the ASCS format, the USMTS format, both with SOTA formats are in here. The new ASCS format that gives you qualifying points on top of stuff, all that kind of stuff. And then, you can also build your own custom ones as well for if you want finishing points and passing points to be something that only you do. There, you can build it custom too. There's so many ways to do it. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to use USMTS for now. I'll calculate. And there is my feature lineup. Couple of things on this screen. There's a how is this calculated option for every lineup that you do. It will show you basically the information that applies to your lineup scheme. So again, it shows everybody's passing points and the pill draw number alongside of it because I use the pill draw as the tiebreaker. There's also an option up here under tools for a lineup monitor. If you've got a whiteboard or you've got some kind of staple board where you're stapling lineups or writing lineups, this can replace it. I use this wherever I go. Lineups will always be posted here. For every race that you've got lineups calculated for, and every race that has not yet gone checkered flagged, the lineups will show on this screen. This screen auto refreshes about every 45 seconds to a minute. So you can set this up at the beginning of the night and not worry about it the whole rest of the race because the lineups will always be here. For every race that you haven't run yet, the lineups will be available. So if you've got somewhere where you want lineups posted, you've got internet access there, you can have this up and running. You don't have to worry about posting public lineups anymore. Of course, because you're in MyRacePass, all of the lineups will already be in the app for these guys, so they can know where they're starting without leaving the trailer. But that lineup monitor is available there if you want to have it posted in some central location. There's also a lineup options area up here for things like an invert or a redraw. So there you can invert, however many you want to invert by using lineup options and invert. If I'm running a passing point show, I've got them lined up based off of passing points, but I'm going to invert the top 6. I can choose top 6 redraw the top 6. I can redraw them this way. You can either do it manually one at a time. If you've got them drawing numbers on a front stretch, you can type them in as they draw or whatever. You can auto redraw one at a time, or you can auto redraw them all at once. And if you've got somebody who for whatever reason needs to start at the back of that redraw, I can redraw him a 6, and then I can auto redraw everybody else behind that. It didn't work because I didn't press enter, but you get the idea. From there, I will send these lineups again. So I'll press get lineups. If I'm in orbits, that means that I have to re-import. I have to import the runs again because I have new lineups. In Westhold, I just have to come back to the assign tab, and there's my A feature. So I'll start timing this A feature. And while this A feature is running, let me actually start the green there. So while this A feature is running, show you one other thing in the program. We all know that everybody can get live timing and scoring in the app. You can also get it in the browser here for all admins by choosing the lap viewer. And in this lap viewer screen, you can see the same live timing and scoring that's in the app. So if your race has the words hot laps or time trials or qualifying or anything like that in their practice, this will automatically switch from the running order to the fast time view. So you can have this ordered by best lap instead of running order. I'm in a demo profile, so I'm not seeing all of the views, but for you guys and for everybody in the app, they'll be able to also see positions lost or gained. There's a positions gained view. There's a view for laps led, so how many laps everybody's led, obviously. And then there's a view for average lap time, and then the last 3 laps average lap time. So you've got announcers that want to convey information to people. This screen will give you a lot of information that you can convey to people. You can also click on an individual driver's name, and you'll be able to see information for their last 3 laps, what position they're in, their best lap, all that. Actually, if I expand this view, you can see all of the laps that they've run. If you choose the pin up here, it will only show you the most recent crossing. So here for me, because I've got a 10-car race, that's going to switch every time somebody crosses the line. It's not going to do me a lot of good. But if you're doing single car qualifying, you don't have to look through the list of where they could have crossed the line at anymore. You can just look at this screen on the bottom of the screen. Oh, this guy qualified 10th with the lap of 5.296. I mean, you can sound professional on a broadcast as an announcer, following along with the tools and live timing and scoring. I probably talk about that too much because I am an announcer, but I look at that screen just as much as I look at the racetrack, to be honest with you. But now we will checkered flag and then finish our race. Let me get through. We got 2 laps left in here. So we'll let them get through their last 2 laps of our 20-lap feature. There we go. Our race is checkered flagged. We're all good there. Now I can press the stop sign, and that works the same way in orbits. I press stop. We're good there. Now when I come back to my MyRacePass, I can come into the results tab, and here's the advantage of having MRP Live connected. Instead of manually doing the finishing order, I can either click MRP Live or I can click the link at the top of the screen. Doesn't matter. They both do the same thing. I can click, and there's my results. They come over automatically. We're good to go. You can still come in here and mark your DNFs, your DQ, or your black flag. If you know that he actually finished like 8th, but his transponder stopped firing, you can click and drag him up to 8th. Make sure that it all looks right and is right. Save is completed. I'm now done with my A feature timing. So what you'll actually do in the most labor-intensive part of MyRacePass is going to be entries. You got to make sure your entry stuff is right. But calculating lineup should go pretty smoothly when you know what your format is. And bringing the results over, I mean, that's a 2-click thing, and you're done. So we're all good to go there. In terms of the results connecting to social media, again, there's a share button right here at the bottom of every results screen. So I click share. I can share the lineups to Facebook and Twitter, hit the post button right here, and now all of the lineups or the results are on social media. So that's a two-click process thing. That live timing and scoring view, Sonny, was up under the MRP Live tab at the top of the screen. It was under Lap Viewer is what I was looking at. The Lap Viewer up there gets me live timing and scoring here. So all of the races are done being timed, the results are in, my races are done. When you're connected and racing is the only time that you can see the lap viewer live during the race. But if I go into the app or I go into that screen after a race is over, I'll still be able to, view that final order on the last lap here on this screen. And I can also click on the name of any driver to see all of the information that they've got over the course of, all of their laps that they ran, which is valuable for drivers in the app because they want to see what they did at the beginning, middle, and end of the race. And that average lap time view is a big deal for that as well. So the last step to this is our points and pay. I'm going to jump into settings here in the upper right because I want to show you how to create a points or a pay scheme. You can create points and pay schemes up here. So you can apply your championship points and your weekly payouts or nightly payouts a lot more efficiently. First off, if I go to add a scheme, I can add a championship points, a lineup scheme, which is for passing points, or a payout scheme, or a global one. A global one is just ones that we built out for some major series and sanctioning bodies that we give everybody the ability to access. So all of your IMCA schemes are in here. Your USRA scheme is in here for points. We've got the ASCS stuff in here. Crate Racing USA stuff is in here. So there's a lot of stuff in here that you can choose from for championship points or whatever else. If you want to create your own, nothing stopping you from doing so. Add scheme, press championship. You name the scheme, and I'm just going to commandeer an old one here quick. And this is the screen that it brings you to. So you add a breakdown for whatever kind of race you want to be in the breakdown, whether it's a heat race, an A main, a B main, a special, a qualifying, whatever. And then you can add the point totals, and payouts works the exact same way. It's the same view, or add the dollar amounts that you want to correspond to each position. So you do this work before race night, setting up your schemes so they're accurate. And then late at night after all the races are over, calculating your points and pay becomes a one-click thing. Super fast and easy. So for this scheme, what did I call this one? It's just points. Winner gets 50 points, decreasing by 1. Easy stuff there. B feature stuff, everybody gets 30 unless they transferred to the A main. You want to exclude transfers there. But again, it's really simple and easy. And again, payouts works the same way. If I want to go and make a payout scheme, I can go here, make a payout scheme, set your start pay for your show up, if they DNS'd or if they at least took a green flag. Nobody added anything to this scheme, so I'll just add 20 places. I'll start at $500 for the winner, and I'll decrease by $75 per place. Now I've got, 20, I decreased by 75 cents. So that wasn't what I wanted, but Let me actually try that a second time. That's not going to work. Let's decrease by $75 instead of 75 cents. That'll make a lot more sense here. There we go. That looks like a good scheme. I ran out of money at 7th place, but what do you do? Sorry if you got 8th. So now when I come back to the points and pay tab here on a race night, so I do all that scheme stuff before race night. Now when I come in here to add a points and pay group, I can select the point scheme that's going to apply, and I can select the pay scheme that's going to apply. I'll just select this random one. And then I can apply it to whatever schedule I want to apply it to. I can apply it to whatever, competitors or owners or teams or whatever, and we'll add that. Now my points are done and my pay is done. I still have an adjustment box here. So if I want to give somebody bonus points or pay, same thing works with a negative. If I want to dock pay, like this guy, he got DQ'd. So I'm going to take 25 off of his total, not 250, just 25. Having a tough time with the old keyboard tonight. There we go. But I can add points for heat races. I can add show up points or pay. Any of that stuff, you can add points or pay there. You want to make sure that that looks right here. If it looks right here, then I can press the Create Payments button, and that brings us to Season Management Payments tab. I can do a couple of things from this screen that are going to be valuable. First, I can create checks. I press Create Checks. I've got my check layout. I've got my starting check number. I can press Create. As long as you've got the right paper and the right printer, your checks will print. The biggest pain in the neck part of a race night can be done in 2 minutes, printing checks from here. And actually, at one of the places I work, we've taken it a step further. We've got a rubber stamp for the signature, and we just stamp the checks with the signature as they come out of the printer. So end of race night checks literally takes 2 minutes. I mean, it's nothing anymore. And like I said, it's late. All of these guys are waiting on you to get paid before they can go home. It just makes it fast and easy. Second thing here that's valuable is this report at the bottom of the screen. That will, this is what I use to have folks sign for their checks. So it's got the payee's name listed over here. And if the payee is a car owner, the driver's name is listed in parentheses. What they were owed, what they were paid, white space for them to sign. So they come up to the payout window. I say, all right, sign your name here. Here's the check that has your name on it. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you next week. Goes super fast that way. The other thing I can do here is I can print mailing labels. So if you're using registration to gather all of their driver addresses, and then you could, you could take this, you can print mailing labels, so you could actually send their checks out through the mail. Makes it super fast and easy. And then, of course, the last thing here is the Quickbooks Export. You're using QuickBooks to track your financials. Gives you a .iif file that you can import directly into QuickBooks, and all that kind of stuff. And then you can shut the lights off and go home. If only it were that easy. So that was a look at our race management stuff. The look came pretty quickly. Connecting MRP Live. One thing that I will tell you is that it can be extremely valuable to have a practice night or a test and tune on your schedule. That way you can throw a couple of transponders on a couple of cars, and you can, just make sure that you can connect to live timing and scoring with no issue. Make sure you get that decoder turned on. All the connection is made. It's good to practice that before a race night. Sandbox doesn't generate a connection code, so the only way to really do that before race day is to make sure that you've got a practice night or a test and tune on your schedule. That really helps. It makes it go fast. Otherwise, don't be afraid to get into the sandbox and test your lineup options. There are a ton of lineup options. Like I said, we can do 2 heat race formats, passing points formats, straight up, classic late model formats. All sorts of stuff is in there. Just, unbelievable amount of lineups in there. So if you got questions, send those questions to us. Send it to support@myracepass.com. Say, hey, this is my format. This is how I'm lining guys up. This is how I'm organizing my races. How would you do this? And we can help you through it, or get into the sandbox and test those different lineup schemes. We can help you through that as well. That's a really valuable tool, is that sandbox on the dashboard page. Otherwise, your setup tab is straightforward, all that kind of stuff. I really want to open the floor here. I want to see if anybody's got any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself, shout the questions out, and we'll answer anything you've got here about race management.
I have a question going back to last week, Austin.
Okay, sure.
Is there a way to delete a registration?
Like delete an entire registration that exists, or delete one driver who registered?
To delete it, to redo it. So I went on to look at how to do it, to set it up, and I did. It looks like a driver registration, or I did 2 different types, but I want to delete one of them off instead of leaving it inactive.
There is not a way on the front end to do that, but I can nuke it on the database. So if you send me an email and tell me what registration you want me to get rid of, send it to support, and I can nuke it for you.
Okay, or just leave it inactive?
Yeah, you could just leave it inactive too, and I mean nobody will ever see it when they try to register. So.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. I do want to let you know we got one more of these, like I mentioned in the beginning. We'll go over online tickets, our new reserved ticketing platform, which we're building a lot of maps for. That's been really exciting. So if you're selling reserved tickets, we can facilitate it. We'll go over news. We'll go over MRP Fantasy. We'll go over your internal contact lists, the 1099 report, and some website tools. So we'll do all that kind of stuff next week. But I really appreciate everybody taking the time to, taking away from their evenings and, sitting down and looking at some of this stuff with us. I hope it's been beneficial for you. If you have any questions that you didn't think of here and that you do think of later on, send them to our support box, support@myracepass.com. Either myself or Dakota can get back to you and answer any questions you've got. Number one most important thing here, guys, is we want to make sure that you feel like you're prepared for race night and your race season before we get to day one. And so if there's anything that you require or need or have questions about to get to that point, let us know. That's what we're here for in support. Cool. Well, that's all I've got. Unless anybody else has anything else, I'm going to go eat mint chocolate chip ice cream and try to be able to wake up by 4:30 so I can fly to North Carolina. We'll see you guys next week. I really appreciate all of you.
Hey, Dakota, do you have time for one more question?
Sure.
How do we export race results with both driver and owner information on the same report?
Mike, are you just looking for that for for your payout window?
Correct.
Austin, you want to pull up the report at after the create payments there?
Yep.
This is what it should.
Yep.
So when you create the payments there, it's just one of the reports you can print down at the bottom.
So this will show you just specifically payout information with the payee listed on the left. And if the payee is a car owner, then the driver's name is in parentheses.
Thank you.
That's in place.
Is that what you're looking for, or are you looking for other information on there?
Something a little more detailed, like because we'll have all the persons in there.
Yeah, we have the person preloaded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's just the race rundown with the car owner, and like I said, if the driver is different. So Hank Armstrong drives for pop up the screen.
Yeah.
But it has both. So if they're looking at the results, they can cross reference, Austin Lloyd with his team name.
Yeah. I'll tell you that we've got another group that's requested a little bit more of a robust report that has all of basically the point and pay report that we've got on the back end that also has car owner listed on there. So if you're asking for that, and I'll get a hold of you guys and make sure that that's what you're looking for, then that's already been requested and we're working on building it now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's print option here. There.
Cool.
Are we on camera?
No.
Because how do you know it doesn't move?
All righty. Well, good night, everybody. I appreciate you.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.